If you enjoy this commentary, please consider making a donation to patreon.com/JordanOwen42. Thanks to the recent outburst of deliberately unconstitutional state laws meant to challenge Roe v. Wade, one of the most severe of which has made a political battleground out of Georgia, the state where I live, I have made public my thoughts in favor of a pro-choice position, as have other far more prominent public figures. Outstanding among them has been actress Alyssa Milano, who has called for a sex strike, the intention of which is to have women withhold sex en masse until pro-life male lawmakers recant their position. While I don't think this would actually work, it has served to expose a disturbing reality in the motives of the pro-life opposition to abortion. When #SexStrike was launched on Twitter, the general response from conservatives was predictable. 1. Claim indifference on the grounds that liberal women are all disgusting, bloated feminist harpies that nobody wants to fuck anyway, and 2. That this would, ironically, achieve their larger goal of widespread abstinence. While the former point is demonstrably untrue, with the simple observation that most of the comely women in the entertainment industry are reaching us from the liberal bastion that is Hollywood, it is the second point that is far more disturbing. Consider these tweets from pro-lifers. Right-wing pundit Jack Posobiec writes, "And just like that, the left is practicing abstinence. This is what we Catholics have been teaching all along. Carry on, ladies." Ashley Bratcher, star of the anti-abortion propaganda film Unplanned, writes, "Thanks for supporting abstinence, Alyssa Milano, the #1 way to prevent unintended pregnancy." Fitness enthusiast and rapper Zuby writes, "This sex strike is a fantastic idea, best thing ever for the pro-life movement. It took a while to get the message of personal responsibility across, but it's finally hitting home. And as always, be careful where you nut, fellas, it takes two." Finally, and most disturbingly, famed pro-life activist Lila Rose tweeted the following, "Quick primer on actual reproductive rights. We have the right to decide when and with whom we have sex. We have the right to be free from sexual harassment and abuse. Rights come with responsibilities. There are 3 key corresponding reproductive responsibilities. Treat others with dignity and stand up against sex harassment and abuse. Abstain from sex until you've chosen one person to love, protect, and serve for life who also chooses you. Be open to the lives you may create together." Miss Rose factors prominently in a larger piece I'm doing on reproductive choice, so I was particularly interested in what her response to the sex strike would be. Unsurprisingly, she, like so many, revealed her true colors. The goal of the pro-life movement all along has not been to protect the unborn. That is merely the emotional wedge issue they use to accomplish their actual goal, forcing the populace en masse into a life of abstinence where sex is not to be enjoyed, only begrudgingly indulged for the sake of reproduction. But think about what Miss Rose is actually saying in her tweets on the matter. It might sound as if she is willing to meet sexual progressives halfway by advocating against sexual harassment and in favor of one's right to personally select their partners. In fact, that is not the case. Note that she holds your reproductive rights as being contingent on your adoption of corresponding responsibilities. In other words, your right to be free from sexual harassment and abuse is contingent on your remaining abstinent, monogamous, and pure. This is not a progressive worldview in the slightest. In fact, it harkens back to some of the most downright regressive, Stone Age notions of a woman's role in society. In ancient times, it was impossible to determine by medical means who the actual father of a child was. This created a problem when determining inheritance, so up sprang a culture in which women were expected to be abstinent in the extreme, being cautious of even speaking to strange men on the chance that rumors of promiscuity be developed. Consequently, the notion of female purity was adopted into the larger moral code of human civilization and eventually pathologized as a moral default. But we no longer live in that world. There are DNA tests which can determine paternity. Nevertheless, the idea persists owing to what psychologists identify as the Madonna whore complex, namely a given person's inability to perceive women as being anything other than virginal and pure or filthy sluts. This is what comes through in Miss Rose's tweets. She views women as either pure vessels deserving of protection or as unholy slatterns to which her high standards of moral compassion do not apply. To you who have bought into the lie that the pro-life movement is primarily concerned with the preservation of unborn life, stop and consider that this is the dark and sinister direction in which these purity-mongering drones wish to take society. A world of drab chastity where the sexually desirable flagellate themselves in a paranoid bid for widespread approval of their untouched, ivory-tinted moral reputation. It is not about the protection of unborn life, and it never was. Do you really think the demographic who brazenly mocks Rachel Maddow for crying on air at the thought of undocumented immigrant children being separated from their parents and put in detention centers actually has some bleeding heart desire to crusade on behalf of the unborn? Of course not. It's not about the fetuses, and it never was. It's about stopping the human race from enjoying sex, period. And to Miss Rose, I watched your interview with Dave Rubin. In it, you were wearing lipstick. Did you know that the purpose of lipstick is to make a woman's lips appear engorged with blood as they would be during sexual arousal? I noticed that you were wearing high heels. Did you know that the purpose of those heels is to call attention to the musculature in your legs and make your buttocks appear to move in a more hypnotic fashion so as to attract attention to your reproductive area? You might want to take those things into consideration in the future. We wouldn't want all the other women filling jugs of water at the well to get the wrong idea.